All right, so this is my easiest vinegar method slash technique. I don't really want to call it a recipe because there's really not much to it, but how about I show you? So a vinegar is basically an acidic, a wine that turned acidic. My method is a little bit different than what you may see online, which is fine, but all vinegars are going to have, of course, their liquid section, but then they will also have a mother, the quote unquote, the mother that grows in it, which is a large disc. And so how about I pull out this disc for us to look at, and so I can show you what my vinegar mother looks like and why I'm using my technique as opposed to techniques that you see online that are more complicated. Honestly, this thing is like a set it and forget it kind of thing. I got my mother, which I'll tell you how I did, and I just poured apple juice over it, and I got vinegar. Super easy, set it, forget it, put a kitchen cloth over it, rubber bands so flies don't get in, and then in like 2 to 4 weeks, depending on how large your surface area is, you got vinegar. This is the easiest ferment, easiest thing to do, and it has awesome variability. You can make apple cider vinegar, you can get grape juice, you can get strawberry juice, you can get pineapple juice, maybe not orange juice with how acidic it is, but then also you could go and take like an herb. You can take peppermint, sweeten it till it's as sweet as apple juice, and then make a peppermint vinegar. Not sure how good that would actually be, but you can do peach vinegar, so if you think about it, the types of wines that are available in the markets, all of those different varieties, so you have cherry wine, you have regular wine, grape wine, you have all these kinds of wines. Those same kinds of wines that you find in the market can also be made into vinegar. And so let's pull out the mother and look at it a little bit closer. This is for all fermentation things. Use your brain, use your eyes, use your senses. Be aware of what you're doing always. I have experience doing this, so it's easier for me to know and understand, but you have to get started somewhere. And so when you're getting started with vinegar, maybe you buy a classic vinegar, you smell that, and then you smell this in comparison. It smells acidic, but it smells vinegary. When I smell this, my stomach doesn't turn. My senses are lighting up. The things in my brain are dinging, and I'm thinking this smells good. When a ferment is not good, you will not get those same types of survival mechanisms that are dinging. If you get something that's off, your brain will tell you, your tongue will tell you, your gut will tell you, you'll know. And so I always recommend making sure that you're aware of what you are putting in your body. Vinegar is super easy though, but because of it being acidic and just more of an aggressive flavor, I always say start slow and tiptoe your way in, grab a commercial one, and then just compare and contrast, and it will help you feel more secure in vinegar consumption if this is your first time. All right, so I've got my little forceps right here, and all right, so forceps and my vinegar mother. So don't know if I already said this, but my method is a little bit different than everyone else's method. If you look at like how the factories technically make vinegar, that is not how I'm doing it, but I'm using my senses and I'm using my years of experience making ferments, doing actual home fermentation as my proxy for knowing how good of a job that I'm doing. And so we'll pull this mother out. Can you see how big that sucker is? Well, let's not call her a sucker. She's beautiful and I love her. And this is my vinegar mother. And the reason why, so usually when you make homemade vinegar and you look at a recipe online, it'll tell you that you need to make wine first. And so you take the carbohydrates, the fruit sugars, you make it into wine, and then you take those alcohols and you make them into vinegar. And technically that is the correct way of doing it. However, because my vinegar mother, you saw how thick and juicy she is. Look at that. Because of how prominent she is in my jar, I know for a fact, and from the smell and context and experience doing this, that even if I just pour straight apple juice in, which is what I do, that's how I make vinegar, and I just let it sit and mature and ferment, I get an apple cider vinegar and I don't go through that forced alcohol stage. And so what that would kind of look like is this. And so this might look like an apple wine, but this is a French stone fruit wine. I'm excited, and it almost is done bubbling, and so I'm looking forward to having my wine. Anyway, and so, hang on, and so because this is now done, if I were to take this bottle, open her up, and I were to let it aerate, I would get a vinegar with more certainty. And so if you are wanting to have a vinegar that you are for sure knowing will turn into a vinegar, yes, use this second step. And so looking at my vinegar, which is interesting because on this top layer, she did separate, that's fine. On this top layer, she looks good. She smells good, and you will know if you're doing something wrong if you get anything that is blue or green in the mold area, and that will be very visible. When you have colors that are clear, white, and that are similar to your base color, you're fine. You should be fine. You want to pay attention though. And so, this smells good. Let me pour some into a separate glass just so that we can get a clearer visual. And so here is my apple cider vinegar. I call it apple juice vinegar, but it's apple vinegar. Stir it around. It smells good. It smells acidic, neutral. And so, because I'm using my senses, because I'm doing fermentation and I'm telling you guys about it, how about let's also measure the pH? And so vinegars are going to have a rather acidic pH. And because of how acidic it is, that will be another determining factor to making sure that a vinegar doesn't spoil. And so, oh my goodness, we are at a 3 point. So here is my little pH strip, and so, clearly we're not at a 3.5. 3.0, maybe we're even at a 2.5. That looks like a 2.5 to me. And so our vinegar is really pretty acidic. Vinegar at a 2.5, 3.0, it's acid. It's really, really quite acid. And so how about let's do we've smelled it, we've tested the pH, let's do a taste test. Oh, that's so good. That's so good. I could have a shot when, that food craze where they were like, have a shot of apple cider vinegar before a meal, and everyone was like, ugh, like that. Oh, that is so good. If you have never made vinegar before, I highly, highly, highly recommend it. Which, interestingly, brings me to one of my favorite points, which is there are these drinks that are called shrub, and it is a vinegar-based drink. And I don't usually make, traditional shrub for me, but what I do is I will take my workout bottle. Good day to be happy. And I will pour in like a splash of vinegar into this. I'll top it off with water, and I'll add maybe in like a pinch of sea salt, and maybe in some like extra vitamins or whatever supplements I'm working on. But I'll add in that, and you know how lemon water can be that like bright, fun, refreshing drink. This is really similar. You just add in, so maybe I have like a few tablespoons in there. I would do maybe that much, just enough to take the edge off. Fill it up with water, add in a pinch of sea salt, and it just takes the edge off of, I like, regular water, but it takes the edge off of just regular water, and it's really good, and it's an easy way to consistently have a beneficial ferment in my daily diet. And I like having the idea of positively influencing my gut microbiome in easy, frictionless ways. And this way is so easy for me to do. And also, I say workout water, but like if I'm having like a big day, I'll make a workout water and I'll go have my big day and I'll just like drink on this like, while I'm out in the city or, just doing things. And it's surprising how refreshing it is. And even sometimes, if I'm being honest with you, I'll do a little bit of vinegar, maybe I'll add in like a splash of juice, and then I'll fill it up with water, and it gives it that like fun zing and a little touch of like sugar to it to kind of just round out that flavor profile. And it's so good, so good. All right, so now let's talk about the details on how I got such a well-developed vinegar mother and the method I used, how I keep this ferment going, and what I did and how easy it really is. So in the beginning, quite a while back, I made a ginger bug. A ginger bug is just chopped up ginger into a jar. Hang on, let's do one of these. Into a jar, you add in enough water and sugar so that it is as sweet as apple juice. So ginger, sugar, water. Or you can do ginger, chop it up, and you add apple juice on top. Same thing. It becomes a ginger bug with apple, so an apple ginger bug. It's really good. I highly recommend you do it. And so same thing, same process, either with a lid or like this with a rubber band around it, and you stir it every single day. It will not come alive for 3 to 4 days. From day 5, day 6, day 7, you should start getting bubbles. That is an active ginger bug for the first time if you are activating a ginger bug. If you are disappointed at the end of day 3, so it's been 70 to 80 hours and you have no bubbles, you should not be having bubbles and you need to keep going. That is how you make a ginger bug. I feel like that's super important, and it's a PSA. People think they've failed a ginger bug because they're impatient. And that impatience is a disservice when literally the world of fermentation is slow food. It is slow food. You won't get something immediately, and so you want to say that needs to be respected in the world of fermentation. And so I made my vinegar accidentally by doing a ginger bug. So ginger, sugar, water, stirred daily for 5 days with a cheesecloth on top until I got bubbles. And then what happened was I got bored and I did something different. And all I did was I put this back on top and I just stopped stirring it. And I looked back at it maybe like 2 weeks later, and I just left it on the countertop because that's kind of how I am with my ferment projects. Got multiples going. It wasn't smelling, it wasn't molding, it was in a clear glass. So I was looking at it, but nothing was happening. And I was kind of doing an experiment and I was like, where is this going? Not touching it though. And eventually it developed a vinegar mother, and looking online, paying attention, reading stories, opening up my fermentation books, looking at the vinegar recipes, doping out that I ended up backing my way into the world of vinegars. And so my big message to getting an easy vinegar mother is make a ginger bug or something similar. You can make an apple bug, same thing, same process, and stir it until it's bubbly. Put a cheesecloth over it and let it age. And as it ages, pay attention that there's no mold on top. And if need be, you can stir it. I did not stir it, and so that was not necessary for me. And I also during that story I did not mention, but I also had a second jar because my ginger bug, I separated it into 2 pieces. and I had one in the fridge, and I had one on the countertop, and both of them turned into vinegar. And so eventually I consolidated the two and put it into this one vinegar mother jar. And this stuff goes quickly, so I'm thinking I'm going to upgrade the jar. But that is how I backed my way into the world of vinegar. And so I looked at this ginger bug that developed a mother, and I smelled it, I tasted it, I did a pH reading, and I figured out that I had made a vinegar. And so then what I ended up doing is I took the vinegar mother and I would put it into a jar, another jar, and I would just top it off with a juice. I've been doing apple juice. It's super easy, it's really cheap, and it makes the best vinegar I've ever tasted in my entire life. Just straight up. And so that is my methodology for how to make vinegar. Activate a ginger bug in a jar. After it's being activated, put a cheesecloth over it with a rubber band, let it sit. That is how I backed my way into making a vinegar. One thing that I do want to mention is that my vinegar mother will keep growing. And so now what I can do is I can take this individual one, I can put this into a different jar and get a different kind of vinegar. And so one thing that I do want to mention is that it's the summer, and so it's incredibly hot out right now. And this will ferment faster in the heat, and so you will not need to have this out for months and months, or even 2 to 4 weeks, but it will ferment faster. It'll be ready faster. When it's ready, put it into a bottle and seal it so that the juice doesn't evaporate out, because if there is airflow, and it is hot enough, it will evaporate out, and your vinegar will concentrate, which is probably why mine is so acidic, but you will lose volume in your vinegar. And so just want to pay attention to that if you are making vinegar and if it is the summertime. Next will be a video of me feeding this for the first time, which made this specific vinegar. And that video is about a month and a half old. And so this vinegar has matured and it's ready to be bottled. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to get a regular bowl strainer and I will bottle the vinegar. There will be enough mother in the liquid that'll be floating around for it to stay good in my refrigerator. And so it will go into the refrigerator like that. And this, I'm just going to top off with apple juice. And I'm just going to keep making my perpetual apple cider vinegar. And so that is my vinegar method and how I keep the chain going. And so now all I'm going to do is I'm going to pour this into a bottle, and I will put the mother and everything back in, and I will just top off with apple juice, and that will keep the chain going, and you will get that continuity with the entirety of this video. All right, so my apple cider vinegar is running pretty low. So how about let's refresh it? What I did is I just went in there and I pulled out my apple cider vinegar mother, and this one that you can see right here, this is the topmost layer, and then this one is a layer beneath it, and then beneath it again. And so what you can see, what's interesting is that the deeper you go down, the more intense in color and depth the vinegar mother gets to be. And because I have separate discs, it tells me that my vinegar mother is really happy. And so, and on top of it, and so what do these little guys look like more up close? Isn't that fun? My hands are clean, by the way, so no worries about that. But oh my goodness, and it's really spongy, but interestingly, it's thick. It's thick. I can't punch a hole through this so easily. So it's not that flimsy. And I love how it makes this like almost perfect little disc. And here's this one that has more of a harder layer to it. And even at one point, it kind of like split or something. But in any case, these are my apple cider vinegar mothers. And so now all I'm doing is just gonna add them back to my little jar. Get some fresh apple juice. Pasteurized is completely fine. And I'm just gonna top it off. That's it. This is how you make apple cider vinegar. I'm gonna leave a little bit of headspace at the top. I've got about like this much headspace here. And I'm gonna let this guy hang out. Now, if I wanted this to ferment faster, so these guys are going to ferment faster with more oxygen exchange. And so if I wanted to do this like in a big basin, it would go a lot faster. So now all I have to do is one of these, little rubber band, and then in maybe about like 4, 6, 8 weeks, it'll be all done and it'll be completely vinegary. So one thing to keep in mind is that to make vinegar, you have to go from juice, so pure juice, it goes then into alcohol, and then it will go into the vinegar process. And so at one point this will be semi-alcoholic, but you know, in the vinegar, I've inoculated it with the vinegar mother, and it should be just fine. If anything, I can stir it, and that would help. But juice plus wild yeast minus oxygen will make alcohol. Juice plus yeast plus oxygen equals vinegar. That's it. I want to thank you so much for watching. My name is Matthew Kress of Kress Dietetics, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.